The story opens with pure darkness. A faint, eerie whisper is heard, barely audible, like breath against the ear. Suddenly, a pair of trembling hands fumble in the dark, lighting a matchstick. A flickering glow reveals a terrified man, soaked in sweat, his breathing ragged, eyes darting around. His name is Ravi. The matchstick goes out. Everything went completely. Silence. Then, a sharp inhale is heard right next to his ear. Ghostly voice, whispering, "Do you remember me?" Ravi, terrified, lets out a blood-curdling scream. 3 days earlier, the village of Maragadapalli, a small forgotten place nestled between dense forests and ancient temples. Ravi, a city journalist, arrives with his assistant Vikram. Ravi, casually stretching. "Feels good to breathe fresh air, doesn't it?" Vikram, smirking. "Fresh air? All I smell is cow dung, Anna." They walk through the village where women in saris hurry inside, elders lower their gazes, and a group of children stop playing to stare. An eerie sense of unspoken fear lingers in the air. An old woman, her back hunched, suddenly grabs Ravi's wrist with unexpected strength. "Leave before nightfall." The whispers, "They know you are here." A gust of wind chills the air. Ravi and Vikram exchange uneasy glances. Later that day, they visit the abandoned Kotai Virabhadra temple, a place long feared by the villagers. Vikram, reading aloud, "Built in the 18th century, abandoned after the night of the whispers." They push open the rusted temple doors. The inside is covered in cobwebs, dust, and decaying wooden idols. The air smells of old sandalwood mixed with something rotten. Suddenly, a faint, hollow breathing fills the temple. Vikram, whispering, "Did you hear that?" Ravi's eyes widen as he sees something on the crumbling stone wall, a name carved deep into the rock. "Padma." The moment he reads it aloud, a shiver runs through the temple. The air grows dense. The lamps, untouched for decades, sputter to life on their own. Whispering, "You have come back, Ravi!" Ravi stumbles back, his breath ragged. His own name was never spoken, and yet the whisper knew. That night, Ravi sits in his lodge, replaying his audio recordings. At first, it's just their conversation. Then a whisper, not from their voices. Whispering, soft, distant. "Don't you remember, Ravi?" His blood runs cold. The voice is too familiar, a voice he hasn't heard in years. He gets quick, haunting visuals. A young girl in a red sari smiling near a temple. The sound of anklets running, a scream, a pond rippling violently, blood. Ravi wakes up gasping. A shadowy figure stands at the edge of his bed. A woman, long-haired, her sari wet, her face obscured. Ravi, whispering, terrified. Padma?" The figure tilts her head unnaturally. And then she moves, too fast, too unnatural, inches from his face in a second. A cold breath brushes against his skin. Padma's voice, whispering, broken. "You left me there." A sudden gust of wind throws the windows open, blowing out the lamps. The room is plunged into darkness. Ravi, now desperate, rushes to the village priest, Acharya Garu. The old man listens, his face grim. Acharya Garu, in grave tone. "The whispers are the voices of those wronged by fate. Padma was never meant to die." Through a chilling flashback, Ravi remembers that Padma was his childhood friend. They had once played near the temple, until one fateful night, she disappeared into the pond. No one knew how, no one searched for her. Until now. Ravi, whispering, shaken. "She's still here, isn't she?" The priest nods. In the dead of night, Ravi and the priest stand by the temple pond, holding an oil lamp and turmeric water. The air is thick with silence. Acharya Garu, chanting, "Om Rudraya, Rakshaya, Atma Shanti Labhantu." A shadow rises from the water. Padma. Her hollow eyes fix on Ravi, filled with unspoken flashback. Padma's curse, whispering, trembling. "You forgot me." The entire place went to complete silence. Years ago, in the village of Maragadapalli, there was a girl named Padma. She was full of life, laughter, and love. But fate had other plans for her. She was in love with Ravi. He promised to take her away from the village, from its cursed traditions. But in places like these, love is not stronger than fear. The elders had already chosen her fate. She was to be sacrificed, drowned in the temple pond, as an offering to an ancient spirit. That night, the sky cracked with thunder. The village was silent, except for the sound of Padma's anklets as she was dragged through the temple grounds. She screamed. She begged. She called for Ravi, but he never came. The water was cold, so cold. Hands held her down. Her body thrashed, her nails clawed at the surface. Water splashing, choked gasps, a final desperate breath. And then, she was gone. Deep silence. But she did not drown alone. Something ancient was in the water with her. Something that should never have been disturbed. Soft, dread-filled tone. The spirit they worshipped did not want a bride. It wanted vengeance. And so instead of accepting the sacrifice, it bound her soul to the water forever. Years later, present day, guilt weighed on his soul. He stood near the pond, the same pond where she had disappeared. The water was still, too still. Her long wet hair draped over her face. Her red sari clung to her lifeless body. And her eyes were still searching for him. Padma, whispering, trembling. "You forgot me." Ravi falls to his knees, eyes filled with regret. Ravi, choking on his words. "I should have saved you. I was a coward." Padma blinks. For the first time, her eyes soften. The wind calms. The whispers fade. She steps back into the water, and with a ghostly smile, she disappears beneath the rippling surface. In life, Ravi never got to love her, but in death, she held on to him and never let go. She's still here, but where? Behind that tree? In the pond? Or right behind you?